What's up, bitches?
Hey! It's Romania Black. Or like mojito or whatever. Am I gonna make mojito a Valley Girl? Maybe. It's like my antagonistic go-to. It's Romania Black and we're on episode 9 of Jujutsu Kaisen, and I'm pretty excited. I was low-key last week, but not this week. No, we're in the Shibuya arc, baby. There is no going easy, and there is no going soft. We're going hard for this arc, I'm sure. I don't know, getting a mojito, like, dress up in cosplay makes me feel very chaotic, so here we are. I'm excited. But we're on this episode, and I'm going to be honest with y'all, part of this chaoticness, with this chaoticness comes a little bit of antagonism. And I've only got 2 comments to go over before we start this, because the moderators have been super diligent and super on top of things. And they've been, telling me lots of comments not to read. So I felt like this was a great time to do just a simple little quick reminder about 2 very important things. One, to not explain to me anything that has not been explained in the show. A nice go-to rule is that if it happened in season 1 and it was mentioned in writing, and I've forgotten about it, feel free to remind me. But if it has not been explained yet, then let me figure out for the show as we go. Let me live my Sherlock Holmes fantasy! Let me live my Sherlock Holmes Moriarty fantasy, and I'll figure it out as we go. I appreciate the enthusiasm of trying to explain things, but we'll just let it happen as we go. And the other thing is to not tell me anything about the manga or hints or clues of things to come. Someone commented in a comment on YouTube, they were like, oh, it's so funny that Yuji ends up all alone at the end of the OP and ED without Nobara or Megumi. Can't imagine that anything should happen to them this season. I was like, what do you think? No! So, I love you all. I love your enthusiasm. I love talking with y'all about the show. But please, don't feel the need to explain to me. It's okay if I don't know right now. I'll figure it out. Don't explain things to me. Let me wallow in my pit of despair until I figure it out. Or don't tell me anything about the manga or anything that's to come. I will enjoy the surprises and the ride that this series takes me upon. This cosplay is really getting something out of me. But yes, anyway, I just want to give some friendly reminders about that. The mods are doing an amazing job. Floor, be happy. Y'all are amazing, especially going through all these comments each week because they are daunting. But the ones I can talk about tonight is Seppi noted that Maki and Miwa had a conversation back in season 1. This is a prime example. This is fine. Talking about in season 1 how Maki had seemed to figure out that something was up with Miwa's attack, which now we know is the simple domain. And that all makes sense because Miwa can't speak about it. So funny that, right? Very, very interesting. And then the simple domain, keeping it a secret. I liked the idea that Seppi pointed out that's interesting that you have the simple domain that must be kept secret in order to work. But then the curse techniques in the series, the more you talk about them, the stronger that they get. So it's a nice little kind of contrast there. And the fact of the matter that this domain was basically constructed, the simple one was, at a time when Jujutsu sorcerers were weakened from the peacekeeping and needed powers to fight the evil curse spirits that were super powerful, makes all the sense. So I thought that was really interesting. Nice. Thank you for pointing that out, Seppi. And Anime Annie talked about, again, the prison realm was mentioned in season 1 at the family-style buffet restaurant that old Geto and Jogo went to, and Jogo lit some people on fire at. But anyway, the prison realm was mentioned at the family restaurant. Jogo wanted the item from Geto, and Geto said he could get it if he defeated Gojo, which didn't happen. So my question in all of this is, if Geto's had this prison realm the entire time, why is he now bringing it out? Why Shibuya? I guess that's just when they all had time in their planners to get together and try to capture Gojo. I guess it's when it all worked out. My question is it timing out with something else? I feel like the prison realm is a MacGuffin that is to distract us from the bigger thing. I feel like the prison realm is something that we're like, oh, that's going to be the big, Deus Ex Machina thing that's going to help them get Gojo. No, I think it's going to be something that's going to lead to something bigger, but I could be wrong. And then just where everybody's at. I know there's been some people in the Discord share that this Jujutsu Kaisen website has a live map of wherever it is. I haven't looked at it today because I figured it would be lining up with this episode. But after this episode, I will definitely look at the map before the discussion to know where everybody's at. But Anime Annie said for now, you have level 5 Shibuya. You have Gojo over here with Choso and Jogo and Hanami. And then you have Mei Mei and Yuji and Ui Ui or Yui, however you say his name, the little brother over at level 5 at the Meiji station. And now the two lines connect one another, which is important. And normally it's like a 6-minute train ride, but to walk and jog, it's about 15 to 20 minutes. So it's just long enough for Yuji to conveniently show up right as Gojo's getting sealed away. That's what it seems to be making it out to be. It's like, oh, wow. So, you're going to have Yuji. It's going to be this big dramatic Yuji running towards the camera. And we're like, oh, there's Gojo right there. And then like a hawk swapping down to grab a squirrel and running off with it. That's what it is. Yeah, that's my prediction of how it's going to go down. And then Nobara noted that with the two brothers of Choso, you had Kechizu and you had Eso. We were talking last episode about how Choso, the one person said they saw 2 people out of the 4, and we thought it was Gojo and Choso. The Anime Annie seemed to confirm that because Nobara noted how Kechizu's body did not disappear when she killed him, and Eso was seen by humans before. Well, since they're from the cursed womb spirits, that all makes sense. So, yes. I'm feeling the rhythm in Mojito's body, right? If I had a mojito to drink as mojito, that would have been really good. The next time I dress up as mojito, I'll have to do that. I'll have to do that in order to fully embrace the cosplay. But yeah, I'm really excited, y'all. I hope you all too. I want to give a really quick shout out over to our philanthropy tier over on Patreon to thank you all for supporting me. You're the reason I got this wig. It's because I was able to use Patreon funds to buy this magnificent wig that I wish I could wear every day because the hair looks really good on me, and I'm really living my mojito fantasy right now. So a special shout out over to Edgar, to Dana, to Alex Cornejo, to Kiri, to Be Happy, our moderator, to Shimoyama, to Nameless Monster, to Ashy Gots No Bitches, to Trails, as well as Tyrone, Anime Annie, Eric Sunspots, Translucent Min, Anna, Goob, and Matthew Palfiniere. Thank you all so much. Your contributions and support are greatly appreciated. All of my love. I'm feeling theatrical, I'm feeling chaotic, and I'm ready to see what all this silly boy Yuji gets up to along with the others, right? I feel like Mojito's a little bit of a combination of ghetto right now, amongst other things. So I'm going to throw this toy to my demon dog. He's going to lay down, and then we're going to get started here and just see what happens, shall we? We're going to start episode 9 of Jujutsu Kaisen. I'm going to get the episode pulled up, get it paused, make sure the audio is on, make sure that all of the subtitles are working, that we're ready to go, bitches, and then we'll get started with this. But we are going to make sure I didn't have my subtitles on. Look at me! But yes, we're going to start this here in 3, 2, 1, and let's go. What? What? Ow! We've already lost Hanami, and we've already sealed Gojo, and we've already found out what ghetto is. What do you all expect me to do other than to just be completely befuddled? Man! If we didn't have, we still have lots of things to talk about, obviously. There's a big part of this episode that was just action, and it was just, Akutami was like, I'm gonna give you the most insane Gojo moments before you don't see him the rest of the season. Because yeah, that's it's very smart on Gege's sake. It is very smart for him to take a character like Gojo, who is just this larger. Gojo is what we would call in American literature as a colossal protagonist. And what that means is it's actually a term based on Greek plays where you had a colossus. A colossal protagonist is a larger than life main character that kind of overshadows other main characters. There's lots of stories around that the main characters, like, they're the one you remember. You may not remember anybody else in the series, but you remember that one character. A lot of Shakespearean plays had tons of colossal protagonists. Hamlet, you probably know who Hamlet is, but unless you've read Hamlet, do you know who anybody else is? Probably not. Macbeth, same thing. Romeo and Juliet, colossal protagonists. Do you remember anybody else? I'm sure if you've read the story you have, but if you haven't, you just know them, right? So Gojo kind of does that, and everybody's been commenting the last several episodes saying, well, we forget that Yuji's the main character because of Gojo. I never forgot Yuji. So I want to make that clear. I never forgot Yuji, but it is hard to topple over the shadow that is Gojo Satoru. And the problem is, as Poser Ghetto, we don't know his name, and I don't want to know. Please don't tell me in the comments. Let me find out for myself. I'm sure it'll be revealed at some point. We don't find out Poser Ghetto's identity. We'll find it out, but we'll talk about that. But they're not really interested in anybody else but Gojo. They're like, yeah, that kid Yuta, yeah, sure, he killed this body that I overtook, but honestly, we'll talk about that later. He's like, I'm not really concerned about him. I want you imprisoned. You're the strongest. You're the threat. And as we see in this opening sequence, Gojo is without a doubt the glue that has been holding Jujutsu Society together. And now that he's gone, all hell's gonna break loose and it's gonna be insanity. And Gege is so smart for doing this with a character like Gojo, because Gojo, you know, starting out the series, runs that typical stereotypical mentor figure stereotype. And in any other shonen series, he would show up, have a badass moment, and then leave, and Yuji would take center stage. But Gege plays it very intelligently in that he gets you invested in Gojo. He shows how he's OP as hell, but gives a reason for it and explains it where you're like, okay, yes, this all makes sense. And gets you on board with Gojo to the point where you're rooting for him so hard. You feel the heartbreak that he feels. God, we'll talk about the damn Board of Gay Yearning coming back to haunt us and everything, but he gets you so invested in Gojo's character that the moment that you get so sucked in and you start to like be on a level of thinking as his character, bam, that's when he seals him up and you're like, no! And you think that there's no other hope, which I'm sure is what I'm sure that's what the antagonists are going to use to their advantage. They're like, oh, Gojo's gone. Who's going to save you now? You know, that's going to be the thing. Who's going to be their savior if Gojo's not here? And the thing about it is, it's Gege. There probably isn't a savior. It's probably going to be all hell on earth now that Gojo's been sealed. Probably. But we got lots to talk about. We need to just dive into this episode. Dive in and go for it. So they ask, you know, who is Gojo Satoru to you? And we start out with Yuji, and Yuji's like, he's a teacher. Well, actually, he's also keeping me from getting executed. So there's that, right? So let's put just Gojo up here, right? We put Gojo up here, and we have from Yuji's perspective, he's technically Yuji's savior, keeping him alive. Yeah, that's a problem, because honestly, the way that things were with Yuji, the only thing really keeping Yuji from getting targeted for assassination and execution was Gojo. So now that Gojo's gone, the elder skanks, who were all like, we don't like Yuji because he's ate these fingers, they could very much decide to get rid of Yuji thinking that he's a threat. They could very much be like, well, now that we don't have Gojo who could solve all of our problems, we're in a pickle. We can't have you stay alive. You could become the next big bad, so we need to get rid of you. So I am worried about that. I'm worried that Yuji's safety is going to be in jeopardy. I love they bookend Yuji at the front and back of this. And so then we cut to, I love Yuji's testimonial is all sunshine and rainbows. He's drinking a juice box like he just got out of day camp and everything. And then we cut to Megumi, who looks like he's coming from a funeral. And it's very solemn and serious. And you're like, well, technically, he's my benefactor. But that goes for other people, not just me. And I like that Megumi is very soft-spoken about it. Megumi seems conflicted as to what Gojo is to him. To Megumi, we have the idea that he's a benefactor. But he's also a benefactor to him and others. Meaning that he's helped others as well, right? And to Nobara, I like Nobara's honesty. Nobara's like, I don't really know him. She's like, we've just been on a couple missions. I don't really have a stake in his character at all. She's like, but there's one thing that I can say for certain. And then Maki says he's a baka. But still, he's flippant, egotistical. I love Nanami. Nanami is not facing the camera as he says this. Nanami is not facing the camera. Like, he doesn't want to. If you guys are Nanami and Gojo shippers, now's the time. Because, yeah, calling him flippant and egotistical. Which is not wrong. Not wrong entirely at all. No. As it's snowing outside, and it goes without saying he's the strongest. And then, damn it, I hate that Yuji, the moment Yuji was smiling so, like, just smiling the brightest smile that he could, I was like, oh, this episode is not going to fare well. But I thought that Gojo was just going to get injured. I thought maybe they were going to, like, try to all corner Gojo and do whatever. I had several scenarios in my head for what was going to happen. It was not this. It was not this at all. No, sir. No, sir. It was not this. And then we cut straight to Gojo, and he is just having a time, right? We cut straight to Gojo, and he is just at his wit's end after killing. And then I love the way that they frame this, because they frame this episode. You don't know exactly why, like, what in the world could have gotten Gojo panting and trying to catch his breath. You don't know what that could be, and you're like, him just fighting shouldn't be able to do that, so what could it be? And then you find out this episode, and it's amazing and insanity, and it's like, oh, okay, cool. So we're gonna skip this intro and go back to the episode itself. So he says, you there, this is the third time we've met. You still underestimate the hell out of me. I'll kill you first. And he did. The one thing that Gojo is not for show. So Gojo, all of these say in all of this that he is the strongest. And the strongest have the biggest targets painted on their back. Yeah, so Gojo being the strongest, the enemy's like, we got to get you out of the way first. You are our problem child. So Hanami, though, R.I.P. Hanami, Gojo targeted him. To be fair, Jogo is annoying. Jogo's fire is annoying and problematic. But Hanami is powerful enough that if you were going to take one of them out... Choso's kind of the most mysterious for Gojo, because Gojo's like, you're not a cursed spirit. You're one of those cursed paintings. I don't know what to do with you. So he's kind of... And Choso is the most inactive of the three. He's just kind of off to the side being like, I guess if I have to do things, I will. We'll talk about Choso. But Hanami is was the most dangerous of the three, because Choso seems unmotivated. Jogo is really not too much of a threat. He's just annoying. But Hanami has enough problematic elements that you're like, oh yeah, you could give us a hard time. You probably need to go first. So it makes sense why Gojo targeted him. Because yeah, Choso's ability is not really going to do much. Gojo is freaking terrifying in this episode. Can we talk about him? There were several shots of him in this episode. Again, Gege was like, I'm going to make him the most badass thing possible, because you're not going to see him for a while after this. I don't think we're going to see Gojo this season at all. I think that he's going to be sealed away for at least this season. Now, whether we get back to him or not depends on the course. Here's the thing. Now that Gojo is in the box, or however they've sealed him away, I'm assuming they've sealed him in the box. I thought, the thing of it is where it all just kind of comes across around him. You know what it reminded me of? It reminded me of Bleach, which again, Akutami being a fan of Bleach, we kind of suspect there's some references. I feel that Akutami is a fan of Bleach, and then in Bleach, the antagonist, ironically enough, in Bleach, the antagonist ends up getting sealed away in like this little cross-shaped object. But it like goes around their body and condenses it down, and it breaks up matter and defies the laws of physics, but it's a fantastical item. Why not? I feel like Gojo's gonna get trapped in the little box. They're gonna put him in the box like a genie. Phenomenal cosmic power! Itty bitty living space. I think is gonna be Gojo's life for the rest of this season and into season 3. I think that's gonna be the case. Now, the question is, how do you release Gojo once he's sealed in the prison realm? Because Poser Ghetto said that you could do it, that they could stay in the box for hundreds, if not thousands of years. And I guess it's like a domain in itself, and time just suspends and you're stuck inside the box. Again, don't tell me. I'll figure it out eventually. They'll explain it, I'm sure. But the prison realm just traps you in that domain, and time freezes for however long need be. I don't know why Poser Ghetto would bring him back out unless it was to take his brain, but we'll see, right? We'll see. Maybe it's thinking, and it could be the fact that you age as you're stuck in the prison realm, but you don't die. So like as soon as Gojo gets out of the box, he'll be dead, and little parasite Ghetto will feast upon his brain, zombie style. I don't know. But the fact that he's sealed up in there, I feel like you have to... What are the stipulations? Okay, questions. We're going to put a questions mark over here. Questions. How do we get Gojo out of the prison realm? Somebody has to know, and I don't think it's just Ghetto that knows how to get him out. Somebody on the Jujutsu sorcerer side has to have heard the prison realm before, has to know how we do it. Somebody has to have some ideas. So whether or not we find that out anytime soon, whether or not Choso or Jogo spill the beans, but at some point somebody's got to know. Mahito ain't telling. Mahito don't care. But at some point, somebody's got to figure out a way to get Gojo out, and there has to be a way to open the prison realm. You've opened it to use it on him, so maybe you have to open it to use it on somebody else. So then the question is, when and how do you do it? So now my question from the start of this episode was answered. I was like, if they've had this prison realm the entire time, why haven't they used it up until now? The answer is because the conditions to use it are very specific. You have to get your target to stand in a 4-meter diameter for a minute before it activates, and they have to stay there for it to work. Normal people, you could probably just tie down and have them stand there and it'd be no big deal. Gojo is not normal people, and so you can't tie him down, you can't restrain him. So how do you get him to stand still for a minute? You use the power of gay love. This is why people don't like Gojo and Ghetto, because they believe that it's the fault of the gay agenda that's gotten Gojo sealed. And they're not wrong. But we'll talk about it. I thought it was really interesting that Gojo actually touches them throughout this episode. He actually has Limitless go on and off, which was really interesting. Also, there were some poses in this episode that were a mite bit freaky. Some were Gojo straddling Jogo's arm. That part was a little bit disturbing. I'm not sure how I felt about that. Also, he looked like Gojo looked feral this episode. He just looked like he was a kid that had been let loose and had mad cow disease or had rabies or something. He just looked a bit rabid. And that's fine. It made for some really good moments, but I was actually genuinely terrified for Gojo for a hot second. Him and his Slender Man body, which I'm sure they had a lot of fun animating in this, but he stopped using his Limitless technique. That's a thing too. The other thing about this was him turning on and off his Limitless technique that we believe he's had on for a good portion of this entire series. So it's one of those things he's had this technique on, so him taking it on and off would take a toll on his body. And then just the whole infinite void and the idea of using that time to kill all of the cursed spirits and save the people. Gege, what we doing? But yeah, and then the idea that Hanami tries to do it, and they try to use the domain amplification, and then, oh my god, Gojo ripped Hanami's eyes out and was standing on top of him, just looking absolutely terrifying. Gojo has had 10 years to perfect all of his techniques, but he's also had 10 years to stop giving a damn and just being an absolute feral monster. He's terrifying. I don't blame Jogo for using his amplification to stop. And then Choso tries to do something. Okay, let's talk about Choso real quick. Last episode, I was like, oh, well, Yuji can't get mad at Choso because Choso's not killed anybody, and he kills 4 people right off the bat. Yes, Choso has killed people. He is not without sin. He definitely has killed people using his blood manipulation techniques. But Choso seems the least invested out of everyone. Choso seems less invested than Mahito, which is saying something. Mahito at least looks somewhat invested. Choso looks like he'd rather be anywhere else. He literally is only there because they made him. And I don't think he was present during the board game scene. I don't think he was there. So either they hadn't done the curse womb part yet, they were still just talking plans, or they didn't invite him. We'll go back to that scene and see if he's even there. But in either case, Choso just doesn't look like he needs to be there. And I like that Gojo for a split second is like, well, wait, he's one of those incarnated death painting wombs. Oh, yeah, and then he just still stops Jogo. It doesn't matter. He still stops him. Oh, my God. And then he looks freaking terrifying. Gojo just, look, I can only imagine when he gets out of the box what's going to happen. But he just looks terrifying. And then him killing Hanami just basically pushes him up against the wall until he splatters. And Jogo's like, well, shit. Okay. And that's it. I didn't think Gojo was getting sealed this episode. I didn't think Hanami was dying. I didn't think we were finding out what Geto was. I thought that was going to be like episode 18 of this season. I thought that was going to be like towards the end of the season, Yuji would be like, what are you? And then he'd like reveal what he is. I'm not surprised that it's the brain. I was wondering when he's like started to lift off the top, I thought there was like a creature inside of it that was going to like come out. It is a creature inside of it. It's just a creature that looks like a brain. We'll talk about that. But yeah, nope. And he's like, there's nothing that cannot be sealed in the prison realm, but there are conditions. Once the gate is open. Okay, so here we go. Once the gate is open, you have to keep him in an effective sealing range for 1 minute. And Jogo's like, that seems really, really hard. So they're at like some cottage in the woods. I love Mahito just looks like he would rather be anywhere else. He's like, I don't want to play games anymore, Dad. Nope. I really love Mahito's like just disinterested face. He's only there to like see what the plan is. Yeah, Choso wasn't invited. It's just the four of them. Choso was not allowed to game night. Poor him. That's why he's so depressed. How dare. Also, Geto in the sweater vest. Like, what the fudge? So creepy. I did think that when Jogo gets around Poser Geto and is talking about like how the plan's not going to work, he looked like Yubaba from Spirited Away when she's like, what did you do with my baby? That's exactly what Jogo, do you think we can seal Satoru Geto? And he's like, yes, we can actually. So that's interesting. So they're like, what do you think he's going to do? And that's when they come up with the plan to have Mahito come in with all of the curse spirits. So at this point, what's interesting is that Gojo decides he's trying to rationalize what he's going to do. And I like the fact that the villains have all these contingencies, all these different plans to try to see like, okay, if plan A doesn't work, what about plan B? What about plan C? How do we make this all work to our advantage? And I like that they're trying to predict every angle that Gojo could take in answering and seeing how it goes, which is pretty refreshing. A lot of times your villains think that they have won the game and they're like, we've done it. We've got our protagonist. We bested them. And then it doesn't work. So I like in this case, it's like one of the rare times you see the antagonists be absolutely invested in trying every method possible to stop Gojo. But yeah, it says a lot for Gojo and how far he's come as a character with what he decides to do as far as the people dying goes. And then, yeah, Choso, like, uses the blood manipulation. He's like, people who can't see the spirits have started to avoid me. He's like, no more releasing my technique to lure it in like before. He's like, there's all these people here. I like that he says, I'm sorry. I can't save everyone. That is so intriguing because it's Gojo apologizing to all the people here being like, look, I can't save you all, but I'm going to try my best to save everybody else. So it's a very interesting moment of Gojo choosing the overall good than the one person, which is interesting. And Gojo being like, I've got to make these sacrifices to stop them from going any further, which for Gojo is a very interesting move. It's definitely shows his growth over the past 10 years. He's like, and I think that I think that the logic that Gojo has in this moment is something that's going to pass down to Yuji, where he's like, I can't save everyone, so I'm going to exercise them instead. He's like, I can't save all of you, but I can destroy them and keep people you love safe. I'm like, all right, cool. And I feel like Yuji's going to have the same mentality later. I don't know how everybody's going to deal with the fact that Gojo's been sealed. Nanami's the one that tells him at the end, and Nanami's just like, oh my god, son of a bitch. I'm going to have to work overtime. Yuji's not going to take this well. No. It is probably good that Mei and Ui are there with her, or with him, because I feel like Yuji's going to take this really bad. It's not going to go over well. And Mei's going to have to, like, baka chop him and be like, okay, stop. Collaborate and listen. We've got to come up with a plan. If Gojo is sealed, we can't go rushing in. Rushing in would be very bad and would not bode well, right? So the 20 minutes was for the train to get loaded up and get over there. Oh my god. And then, yes, Geto on the train tracks, and he's there with the same spirits that were there from before. So we find out that Geto can use his technique. He can still use his technique to call out monsters. Well, that's just lovely. That's just lovely. So I guess we should put under questions the name of the curse that has ate or taken over Geto. We'll find that out. But basically, he can still use all the techniques that Geto used. You know what's so ironic? Is that Geto spent all this time looking for curses that he could use because of their abilities. And this curse has been looking for humans and jujutsu sorcerers to use for their abilities. The irony that Geto dies and his corpse is used by a curse that uses other curses and other corpse users. It's pretty ironic. I don't know what to think about it. And then what Geto says there now makes a lot more sense. He's like, we have to get Gojo on edge. He's like, he's too composed right now. He was too composed and focused. We need to get him on edge. And that's when I'll spring my KFC breakup bonanza to get him to stop in place and use his sexuality again. Oh my god. It's like the meme where they're like, what are you going to use? And it's the 30 Rock meme where they ask Jenna, they're like, what are you going to do? And she's like, my sexuality. And they're like, don't say your sexuality. Geto used sexuality to get Gojo. And it was double effective. So yes, God, you know what sucks? Is that Yuji like crouches down by that woman at the train station and he's like, are you okay? And she's like, everybody could turn into monsters, even me. And like turns into a monster and dies. It's like he has to witness Junpei die all over again. I'm like, leave this boy alone. Let him live with the fingers inside of him in peace. Sucks. And he's like, wait a minute, on the train. And then it's like him and Gojo realize at the same time. It felt like a zombie movie, all of the cursed spirits coming out. And then Mahito shows up and he's like, hey, how's it going? Everything's full of fear. It's great to be off that train and breathe. Hey, the air smells so nice here. Hey. Like, that's just literally him. Let's leave a few humans alive, and then we can go hunting after them later. And I love that Jogo in that moment is like, can I burn down the forest with them in it? I'm like, what? They're like the Addams family. They're like just the Addams family of cursed spirits, right? For the record, I'm not cosplaying as Jogo. Refuse. And then also, can we talk about the skateboard? Can we talk about the air skateboard that Mahito has? He transfigured a human into a cursed spirit that was also a skateboard. Can we talk about that? What? And then him just going right at Gojo. And Mahito had no intention of killing Gojo. He just wanted to see if it'd work or not. Like, just saying, like, does your power really work? Oh my god, I can't hit you. That's so crazy. And Gojo's like, who the fudge are you? The one that Nanami and Yuji talked about. I love that he just smacks away his hand and tries to punch him. And Mahito's like, no, I don't want you to do that. Let me tell you one of the gross things about humans. There's too many of them. Oh my god. And then makes all the people drop from the sky. I like that Gojo is just like, what? The shot of all the people falling behind him and he's just staring is insanity. And so then they're like idol transfiguration, soul multiplicity, blood manipulation, convergence. Because yeah, we have the curse wound paintings. They use the blood manipulation like Kamo's family because it's like they're all related, right? Oh my god. Poor Choso. Choso's just like, I need to sleep. I don't want to be here. That whole thing though where all the people dying and heads just rolling and all the blood's just splattering against Gojo. And then Jogo goes down to try to punch him. And again, what I love about it is that Gojo uses his power to avoid all of these attacks. But when it comes to Jogo, he just grabs him because he knows he can beat him. Like there's literally no worries he has for Jogo. And it's just, I don't feel bad for Jogo. Jogo's a bitch. I don't feel bad for him at all. But it's really funny. And then I love that Mahito and all of them, they think, okay, Gojo is somebody that's unlike Yuji. He uses cold logic. Yuji is empath, which is problematic for him. That's his biggest... Honestly, emotions are the biggest weaknesses in this arc so far. You have Yuji, whose compassion may end up saving him, but may also get him killed. And you have Gojo, whose literal feelings, his literal feelings for his best friend are what end up getting him sealed. We're going to talk about it when we get to it, but I was like, are you kidding? But the villains, they all think, oh, he's not going to activate the void. It's fine. And then he's like, no, never mind. Domain expansion, bitches. I'm doing it. And he stops everything. But then instead of the void killing everyone, they're all like, what the hell? Instead of that, he goes around. It was a desperate gamble on a domain expansion lasting 0.2 of a second. But that 0.2 of a second managed, 0.2 was the limit he set purely on instinct. Oh my god. And he's just running around killing all of the transfigured curses. It was the amount of time he believed non-sorcerers could withstand being in the infinite void without becoming vegetables or facing after effects. Gojo! Because at first you think he's going to activate the infinite void and you're like, oh, Gojo has become this heartless monster that, yes, would kill millions, would kill hundreds, however many are in the train station, to, not millions, but would kill hundreds to save the day. But Gojo is so much of a beast that he only activates it for 0.2 of a second so that the people inside the void won't die. They're just stopped and frozen. And that gives him enough time to kill the transfigured humans. It is utter insanity. It makes so much sense. He says during that 0.2 of a second, half a year's worth of information flowed into the brains of non-sorcerers and transfigured humans present, rendering every one of them unconscious while standing upright. Oh my god. And Gojo's just running around killing everything. Oh, it's art. Like this entire sequence where Gojo is just running through, spinning, the world is spinning. It's literal artwork. But the fact these people, they were hit with so much information from the void that they were stunned upright. And Gojo's going around just mauling any threat that's in their way. Oh my god. It's, however, all the survivors were able to return to society 2 months later. That's how limited his infinite void was. Just absolute insanity. I don't know how else to describe it other than Gege, what are you doing? And this whole sequence, I can just picture in the manga it just being just this disaster of art. And it's just, I don't know how else to describe it. I mean, you could talk about it all day about how genius it is, but just that was based on Gojo's instinct and nothing else. That's 0.2 of a second was enough to render people immobile for 2 months. Do with that what you will, right? But oh my god. And then him just going absolutely feral and killing all those curse techniques. That meant the special grade curse spirits could reawaken at any moment. So they had to be taken care of. So with their potential counterattack in mind, he narrowed his focus on the transfigured humans. And that's what Geto was waiting on. All of this, I feel like Poser Geto did not tell Jogo and Hanami and Mahito the full story. Mahito doesn't care. Mahito's just here for the lulz. But I feel like he didn't tell Jogo and Hanami intentionally the entirety of the plan because he wanted to keep it somewhat... He just wanted to urge Jogo and Hanami to get Gojo to this point. But Poser Geto's entire thing was that he wanted Gojo to be able to focus on a specific task that would wear him out, which is this. I think that Geto knew that Gojo was going to use an infinite void. Jogo and them didn't believe it, but I think that Geto was planning on him doing this and doing something like this because this isn't Gojo's character. It's that self-sacrificial but OP measure that only Satoru Gojo could do, and that is what he was counting on that would wear him out. And that's exactly what it did. And then there he is. He slaughtered 1,000 transfigured humans in 299 seconds. Yeah. In 299 seconds. Which, if you were curious, 120 seconds is 2 minutes. So 340 seconds would be 3 minutes. So under 3 minutes or less. In the time it took you to make a Hot Pocket, Gojo slaughtered 1,000 transfigured curses. So yeah. Wow, just that shot of him just breathing. And then everybody's just standing there. And Gojo's like, well. And that's when he notices. That's when Geto opens up the prison realm. The seal. That's when he gets it ready, right? Because he's like, now that you're catching your breath, I'm going to add that onto the minute that we've got left. And go from there. And I like Gojo just stares at it like, the fudge is this? And he's like, prison realm gate open. And there we go. And the game that they're playing, the final card is drawn. It's all right. We do need a minute. And then the prison realm opens it, and it's this creepy ass eye that's bleeding. Ugh. So creepy. It looks like from Doctor Who, right? It looks like the last remaining human in that one episode of Doctor Who. She's like, moisten me. She's like, just like hung up on the little string, like the stretched out skin. She's like, moisten me, please. And Britney Spears' Toxic is playing. That's exactly what I think of when I see the prison realm. It's creepy as hell. And he backs up, but he's about to go. And oh my God. Gojo was sealed because gay. The Gay Yearning. The Board of Gay Yearning betrayed us! The Board of Gay Yearning betrayed us! It did, damn it! It betrayed us! We were all doing well. Everything was set up. Akutami knew exactly what he was doing. He was like, oh, look at the romance between them. It'd be a shame if that romance was tragically used against him. Because we all know that Gojo fell harder than Geto did. And God, it all makes sense now. It was like, well, why would Geto stay out of sight and out of mind and doesn't want Gojo to see him until a certain moment? It's for this moment. He didn't want Gojo to see him until the opportune moment, and then there he was. And it was to imprison him. He's like, I just need to hold him down for a minute, and I'm going to use... And it makes sense now. Not only did this creature inhabit Geto because it wanted his curse technique, but because, well, if you're going to imprison the strongest, you got to get to the... If you're going to win a man's heart, you got to go through his stomach, right? Well, in this case, to get to Gojo's heart, you've got to go through another region. But here we are. Satoru. And him saying Satoru, that's such a... In that voice, that's such a move, right? That's such a move. And he's like, huh? And he's like, long time no see. And the thing about it is, it looks like him. It looks like him. And then poor Gojo, where he's just like, huh? Like, it's you, you're still alive? How is that even possible? And he's like, oh, long time no see. And he's just standing there. And then, like, we have, the piano music starts playing the montage is going through his head. Is it a transformation technique? No, it's his body. No, it's really him. And then he sees, like, it's going through his head, like, the montage, everything that's happened between them. And he just sees it all. And it's just like he's trying to process it, right? As the prison realm is about to attack him. It's only a minute in Gojo's mind. But that's all it took to trap him. Oh, and then it's like all of these things like come at him. All of these boxes with the eyes. Oh. Oh. And the creature with Gojo just doesn't, with Geto just doesn't even, it just looks amused at this point. Oh my god. You shouldn't lose yourself in thought in the midst of a battle, Satoru. It's so insulting that he says Satoru. That's such an insult because it's like you are using that against him in that moment. You monster. No. And he's like, I can't sense any cursed energy. I can't get my body to move. This is checkmate. And Gojo just looks so defeated. Gojo's just like, what the hell? I got caught by this box. Oh, and it's all expanded apart. So the box is going to like trap him in there. He's like, what the hell are you? I didn't think we were going to find this out at all. I'm Suguru Geto. He's like, don't you remember me? How sad. And Gojo's like, your body, your cursed energy, all the information provided by these eyes tell me that you're Suguru Geto. But, oh God, it's like the most beautiful thing. My soul is rejecting it. I'm like, ah, yes. He's like, I'm soulmates with this man and you are not him. You have everything about him but his soul. Oh. And that's when he's like, now answer me already. Well, who the hell are you? And he pulls the string. Creepy. Oh. And then he lifts up the head. Oh my God. Nope. 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 And it's just using him. Oh. I'm like, if you were about to be imprisoned for who knows how long, and the last thing you saw was the love of your life, his body being used by a curse, and it just like leaking out fluids as he's making it smile. No, that is some freaky next level disturbing shit, Gege. What? He's like, how could you tell? And Gojo's like, I'm gonna murder you when I get out of here. That's my technique, you see. I can pass from one body to another by replacing its brain with myself. So it's weird. It's like, the question is, how did he get all of like Geto's like information and mannerisms and things, unless he like ate the brain of that person and then by eating the brain he absorbed all of that. That's the only thing I can think of. But and you know what the cruel thing is of course I'm able to use the technique etched into the body I inhabit. I wanted this man's curse manipulation and this situation too. Yeah, I wanted everything to work out to catch you. You didn't have Shoko handle the disposal of his body that day, did you? The thing of it is, that's the ultimate like cruelty of this moment, is that Gojo did not let Shoko handle the body because he didn't want her to have to handle Geto's body. He wanted to do her that kindness. And because of his kindness, that's allowed whatever. A question with that is, who gave the body to this curse? Or did this curse just like come from the shadows? That's a good question. It says it passes from one body to the next. So whose body did it have before? That is the question. But it's so fascinating, this little curse that we don't know why it's targeting Gojo, what it's doing, what its motivations are. We have no clue. But it just like came up from the sewers and just showed up and was like, I'm here to wreck shit. And then it's here. It's so freaky and creepy. It's just, like what do we do with that? And then he puts the top of the head back on. It was an odd time for you to show consideration, but I was able to obtain this body with ease. I'll release your seal eventually. 100, maybe 1,000 years from now. You're just too strong, and you're in the way of my plans. So it's known about Gojo for a while, so I'm curious to know what the hell this spirit is, and what this curse is, and why. I mean, obviously we know why it's gotten Geto's body now, but, like, why is it targeting Gojo? Where is it from? I want to know all the things, and I have a feeling we're not going to find out for a long time. And then Gojo tries. His eyes are blocked off in this shot, so he can't really see what he's really thinking, if he's bluffing or not. But he points out who beat the crap out of the body before I killed him, and it's Yuta. And the curse is kind of like, well, you see a lot of potential in that kid, but I don't think he's as strong as you. He's like, no. He's like, Yuta's okay, but... It's like, nah, if Rue's number 1, Yuta's number 2. It's kind of like one of those things, right? Yeah, it's like, if Gojo's number 1, Yuta's number 2, he's like, it's still not number 1. You know? He's like copying techniques without any conditions and a bottomless well of cursed energy. Those were just effects obtained from binding the soul of his most beloved with a pact. It knows that Yuta has a thing with Rika. Okay. Why not? And so he's like, sorry to say this. I like Mahito is just standing there like, oh, Mahito snaps out of it. Oh, crap. It's back. It can never replace you. Good night, Satoru Gojo. Oh my god, we'll meet again in the new world. Oh my god, that is terrifying. And then Yuji's like, wait, what's going on? I love that somehow Yuji has these Bluetooth devices that look like Mechamaru. Like, what? So yeah, I don't know. I assume he's going to put him in the little box and Geto's going to take him with him. So the only way we're going to get a chance to get to Gojo is if somebody faces Geto. But it has all of Geto's powers. So, I mean, Yuta would be a prime choice. But here's the problem. A lot of what allowed Geto to get bested by Yuta was Geto himself. Like his own motivations, his own agenda. I don't think that this poser Geto has the same going on for him. So it may not work out the same. Yuta's not going to be happy when he finds out that Gojo's in prison. Yuta's not going to be happy at all. I'm like, I'm like, what's the matter? And he's like, I'm only going to say this once. There's no time. So listen and understand the first time. Gojo has been sealed. And that's the episode. So yeah, as to what happens now, it's just good. It's all bars are open. So all we have left though, okay, let's get this. I pulled the map up here, right? So let's get this map right to show where everybody's at. So Mahito, over here, we have Yuji, we have Mei, we have Ui, we have all them together over here at Meiji. And then over in the direct line, Gojo's in the box. We have Jogo and Choso and Geto. So we have those 3 there. Okay. Oh, and Mahito's there too. So there's that. And then over here was Nanami, Ino, and Megumi, right? And I think the butler, oh, what's his face? They're over there. Panda and Kusakabe are over here. And over here is the Zenin man, Maki, Nobara, and the one helper gal. I don't know what's going to happen to the Zen and Maki and them. I don't know what's going to... I mean, Yuji and all of them are probably going to go and converge over there. Nanami and them are probably going to converge over there. I can see Panda and them could either go there or they could go over there. One of the two. As to where these guys are going to go, I don't know. Because they're kind of far away from everybody else. So, I don't know if they're going to end up fighting something different. The one guy that was with them in the last season, they had the yellow hair and he was really sickly looking. He kind of had a thing against Maki for a hot second, didn't he? Or Nobara for a hot second? Or maybe it was Udahime that he had something against for a hot second and then it was like, okay, bye. Maybe he'll go after them? maybe, I don't know. I mean, we have to know, like, where... There's a lot of questions of what could happen. And is Yuta on his way? Are the sorcerers, like, getting all up on him? Like, what's happening there? I don't know. But I have a feeling that Geto is going to take Gojo in the box with him so that nobody can get a hold of it. And he's going to leave the scene and flee so that nobody can do anything. And my theory is you can't unseal Gojo without getting the box back and without killing the person that sealed him. That's just my guess, but we'll find out, won't we? This episode was insanity, and as good as it was, and as funny as we can make the Board of Gay Yearning making another appearance, the thing that's not funny is that Gojo's now sealed and is out of the picture. The one character that could be our little, like, Deus Ex Machina is no more. That does not bode well. So, all bets are off, but at least we don't have Hanami to deal with. Right? So, I'm curious to know your thoughts down below. Please no manga spoilers. Please no hints or clues. But were you shocked the Board of Gay Yearning caused all this? As I was? In any case, I hope you all have a wonderful week. Please stay safe. Take care. And yes, I am going to go finish my coffee and start editing this and get ready for next week and see what fresh joy is brought to us in the world of Jujutsu Kaisen.